Hello and welcome to the Say It Sister podcast. I'm Lucy and
I'm Karen, and we're thrilled to have you here. Our paths crossed years ago on a shared journey of self-discovery, and what we found was an unshakable bond and a mutual desire to help others heal and live their very best lives.
For years we've had open, honest and courageous conversations, discussions that challenged us, lifted us and sometimes even brought us to tears. Now we want to share those conversations with you. We believe that by letting you into our world, you might find the courage to use your voice and say what really needs to be said in your own life.
Whether you're a woman seeking empowerment, a self-improvement enthusiast, or someone who craves thought-provoking dialogue, join us as we promise to bring you real, unfiltered conversations that encourage self-reflection and growth.
So join us as we explore, question and grow together. It's time to say it, sister. Hey sisters, welcome back. Today we are focusing on confidence again. Now we've spoken about confidence before with the brilliant Jules von Hepp, and today we bring you another amazing woman, sister, expert. She is truly incredible, Helen Parker. And her mission is to connect to and live in complete confidence. Now, as we all know, confidence comes and goes with age, life cycles, hormonal changes, and just general life. And yes, we know this. And overwhelmingly, women do struggle with confidence. And it's no surprise when we are bombarded with videos and images and doctored images that are telling us how to look and what the latest styles and fashions are. And then we get all those videos telling us how to live our best life and the hustle culture and how to smash it. It's exhausting. And, perfection is in the eye of the beholder, really. And that's where that inner confidence comes from. And remembering that the joy thief of comparison is always knocking on your door. So we all need a little bit of Helen in our lives. And Karen, I bet you're so excited to welcome Helen.
I'm beaming from ear to ear, and I'm so happy that Helen's here because she's one of my best friends. We've been through so much together. I don't even know how long we've been friends for now. I've kind of lost count of the years. And we've done some wild things together as well, from taking trips to Mexico and having a shamanic experience in what's called we called it the womb. So we go back to the womb when we have our memories of like feminine time, but it basically a sweat lodge. And just the joy of having her as a friend. She's been my ride or die for a long, long time. And also I watched her recover from brain surgery, and I'm getting emotional now, but watching somebody who you love go through something that is so incredibly humbling is, I can't give it a word. But let's just say that Helen conquered it like a tiger and, really learned how to walk again. And it was just this amazing experience to see somebody who's so powerful, so strong, go through an experience that is immensely physical, emotional, spiritual, and then come out the other side, as she always will and she always does. So, yeah, she's a true embodiment of resilience for me and grace and feminine power. And I'm so happy that you're here with us today, and kind of can't wait to hear what you've got to say and share with you and hear your wisdom. Thanks for coming on, Helen.
Well, thanks so much for having me, ladies. It's an absolute joy to be here with you, and congratulations on bringing this podcast into the world and sharing so much of your wisdom and bringing on these amazing guests. So it's really an honor.
So let's start at the beginning because we've not met before. So tell us a little bit about yourself, because you were in the corporate world, then you became a femme founder of 2 businesses. So what made you pull the plug and transition?
Yeah, so I was in the corporate world for about, I guess when I add up all of the jobs, it was probably near enough knocking on 20 years. I've just always been a worker bee. I think I'm a queen bee now, but I was always a worker bee. I had like 4 paper rounds growing up and then like endless different other jobs. I started really working when I was 11. And I just always wanted to be like contributing and doing something. And I was just always driven to working with people, really. So I ended up really in the corporate sector kind of by accident in a way. I didn't really have a master plan when I left school or university. I did a public relations degree. I just wanted to work in business. I think it was just the idea of kind of this ambition and being successful. And I didn't really know what that was. I think it was like this sort of notion of getting to the top. Um, and I just always had that drive. So I ended up working in business. I was spent the majority of my career in the mobile sector, 14 years working for O2, who was then bought by the Spanish company Telefonica. And I have to say, I love my job. I loved it. I did different jobs there, but the last 8 years plus, I was running social impact programs for that business. And I was really given like blank sheets of paper to create programs, massive programs from scratch. So I think it was called entrepreneurship at the time. But I really was given a lot of freedom to do that. So I kind of honed what was already natural in me to create things from scratch inside the comfort of a business. And I've used to build social impact programs. The biggest one was called Think Big, and it's still happening in different guises across many different countries. But the whole premise of it was to give young people a platform, an outlet to access support and funding to make their ideas come to fruition and to become better people with more skills and more confidence, more resilience in the process. And it was amazing. But the kind of the shadow side to that sort of time was the fact my internal, I guess, metrics were off, and I was constantly driving for self-worth that really wasn't there because I just didn't love myself at all. And so it was very much all outward, and I would work and work and work and work. And I was beyond a workaholic. Like, I don't even know how many hours a week I used to work, 70, 80 plus. And because we were on the cusp of this explosion in mobile technology, I had the BlackBerry in one hand, I had the iPhone in the other, and I was totally addicted to work, basically. And because my job had a social purpose that aligned to my values, that was even more of this kind of thing that I couldn't stop because it was like, oh, it's all I've got to help other people. We've got to build more. We've got to get more young people in the program. And it just went on like that. And effectively looking back, I burnt out probably 3 times, I would say, where my body just stopped. And that used to show up for me predominantly in depression. But nobody would have known it really. Maybe some people would have had a sense, but I was very good at masking up, like in what I wore, like 4-inch heels, completely perfectly presented every day, just this sort of this ball of energy. But I'd go home.
Yeah, Karen and I have talked about wearing the right clothes to make us feel more powerful and more confident. So totally understand how we can, just put that war paint on, put those heels on, and yeah, get that mindset fixed, and then come home and just crash and think, who the hell am I? And then, so did you choose to leave?
Yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah. So what happened? I mean, it kind of, I kept getting promoted because I was good at what I did. And that kind of spouted a big depression in 2013 because I just wasn't near the cause anymore. I wasn't near the people that I was impacting. I was just dealing with all of the politics and big legal contracts and finance and traveling a lot to Madrid like 3 or 4 times a month and stuff. And I was basically coming out of a depression, and it was the start of 2014, and I was basically due to go to Brazil because of a girl that I met on the same holiday, which Karen's referring to in Mexico, She lived in Rio and she got me a place to perform in the carnival in January of February, the carnival of 2014. So I was just coming out of that depression myself, and I felt really good. I was training a lot because I was wanted the Brazilian body to get onto the float. And out of nowhere, it was a Wednesday, I thought I'd overdone it in the gym. And by Monday, I'd had emergency brain surgery.
Wow.
So basically, within the space of 3 or 4 days, I lost the entire movement to the right hand side of my body. And Friday, I was admitted to hospital. On Monday, I had an emergency craniotomy. So that was the rebirth, basically. And I had 7 months off work. It completely changed the course of my life. It was the biggest gift, apart from my daughter, of my life. Um, and it set everything off in a completely different direction. So I did go back to my job. They were absolutely amazing, looking after me, the company. I couldn't have wished for anything else, the love that they poured into me. But I just used the time to heal. And for the first time in my life, I put myself first.
I
I
remember
just,
coming in to the hospital to see you and giving you Louise Hay's "You Can Heal Your Life" and being like, just read this, and it's obviously right space, right time, because you were in bed, you couldn't walk, you had to do the work in a way, but you'd already been doing bits of work as well before that, hadn't you? So you were like dipping in and out, of what I remember of your story. And then this happened, and it was like a cosmic opening in a way.
yeah.
And just remember you there, and you had all your crystals. I think I brought some crystals in, and it was just all around you. But you were actually in an amazing place considering what you went through. I feel like something shifted in you that was so major that actually was hard to define. But now I see it much more strongly. You're a few years down the line, and I think as you're talking, what's coming up for me is also that idea of when we're kind of pseudo fueled, we get the recognition, we have the lifestyle, it can feel really amazing. And so we get caught up in that feeling of amazingness. It's like, I'm doing it. Look at me. I'm there. I'm traveling. I'm having this life, and I'm doing amazing work, and I'm purposeful. But actually, we can also get very lost in that. And I certainly have experienced that as well, in my career. And I have to keep an eye on myself even now to not lose myself in the journey of, purpose and creating and feel good, because it's a void. Basically, we fall into a void. And actually, to get out of that void can be really, really hard, because we've got to almost unpick things. So that's sort of what was coming up, and quite quiet and listening and feeling into it. And yeah, I just wanted to sort of throw that back to you, really, because I'm guessing that when you're in hospital, you were in the void and you started to do the unpicking.
Yeah. I mean, I knew it was going to happen to me. It was just this really profound sense of that it wasn't a surprise. And I've always been like that anyway. I've always known things about people and been able to predict things that were happening even as a kid. And so it was upsetting my mum, because I was like, I know it's meant to happen to me. I know this is meant to happen to me. And she was like, "But how can you say that? Like, you're literally lying in a hospital bed, you can't move." And I felt the happiest I'd ever felt in my life. And I was just like this sea of gratitude, and all I could see and feel was love, and everything was connected. And because I'd have this brain injury, it was firing up different parts of my brain. So I became like fully telepathic. Like I was able to sort of read things. I knew when people were coming in the hospital door before they came in. And people were like, "Oh my God, what's happened to her?" They were quite concerned, apart from sort of the people who know what, were a bit more open. Because they just think, "Oh, she's just it's the steroids or it's the drugs," but it wasn't. And so it also sent me on this huge like exploratory journey around my own healing at first, and trying to connect the dots and work things out. Because in the initial stage, in the eye of the storm, like, I'm good in crisis anyway. I was great. It was more like when I was at home, because you go from somebody who's constantly worked and then you're not working. And it was just this kind of thing, and what do I do, like, and what, so it sent me in a path of kind of personal discovery, which led to so many beautiful things happening with my own journey, discovering coaching. I did work with you when you were doing all of the work with women and the sort of those initial steps, things with tribes. I did lots of different modalities of healing for myself, went and discovered about NDEs and met people from all over the world in near-death experiences because I was searching for answers, and that's what came and brought me to hypnotherapy. And that's why I retrained. When I went back to work, I retrained on the side of my job because I wanted to understand what was going on in the subconscious, because when I was physically unable to move, I was accessing these kind of technicolor worlds within my own imagination, and some was deep memory that sat in normal contexts of life you wouldn't be able to access. Very, very, very early childhood memories, and they were so vivid. But then I was able to create them myself with intention in order to connect my brain and body back together. So I was like thinking there's something in this, because normally we're just using this tiny bit of our brain because we're in this hamster wheel of what have I got to do today, and it's just this tiny little bit. And I was like, there's so much more there. So that's what led me into to hypnotherapy. And then I decided to take voluntary redundancy in 2016, and I found out I was pregnant while I was in consultation. So my daughter was the biggest manifestation that came out of me being ill and this whole spiritual awakening, because for the first time in my life, I literally had no filter, but I also had no fear. I was just literally saying exactly what my dreams were out loud to anybody who would listen. And I was kind of setting this chain reaction off energetically for them, then for me to be a match, like I was doing the work. So I was in the space that anything that was coming would come to me. So it was incredible. I mean, money was flying at me, like abundant success, opportunity. I was traveling, had my daughter. So it was this, yeah, this real kind of hotbed, really,
Yeah, it's like a before and
how
after,
it
isn't it?
worked.
Like a
Yeah.
before and after scenario, like, which is very rebirth if I think about it. Like we almost have to let the old self die so the new can come through. I remember a lot of the time we would talk a lot about love, and that those were our conversations were around love and all of that. But actually, what you did through your experience would manifest the greatest love, which was your daughter.
Yeah.
That connection is so incredibly strong, and it feels like you stepped into that almost at that power of love, and then let the universe let it work out in a different way, and that feels like the greatest transition. If that's what I'm picking up from what you're saying right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just to be just yeah, it was just all of it was love really at the core of it. And it hasn't stayed like that. It was in that initial space because life's happened and again like it does, right? And I've had to go through a lot more in the last, well, it's 11 years now. But yeah, it was a significant moment in my life, and one that I'm very grateful for.
So you are here to talk confidence, so I'm taking it that was part of the journey that you went on. So tell me a little bit about how you, from this experience, you are now working in the confidence space, and I guess the message that you want to give us.
Yeah, so it was a kind of a journey from leaving my job, having my daughter. I retrained and qualified as a clinical hypnotherapist, and then I merged coaching into it. And I've worked 9 years with people in that space. And in 2018, I co-founded a business in Rio de Janeiro because of me coming off the float in 2015. So obviously I couldn't do it in 2014 because I basically couldn't walk. And I rang my friend, now business partner from hospital, and said, I've only got one operational arse cheek. You're gonna have to get someone to fill my spot. I can't get up there, I can't shake it. But a year to the day that I hobbled out of hospital, it was Valentine's Day in 2014. Valentine's Day 2015, I was on a float in the Rio Carnival, which was this unbelievable life affirming experience. And off the back of that, and then also my business partner's story, which is also incredibly inspirational, we decided to launch this business together. So I was doing mainly one-on-one, really, in clinical hypnotherapy, working with people with a lot of coming to me, probably presenting issue being anxiety, and other things. But the golden thread that was always running through was confidence. Every single person done in excess of 2,000 clinical hours. So work with a lot of people, and this golden thread that we were always working on confidence, the confidence to change, right? The confidence to believe in yourself, the confidence to move forward, the confidence to let go of the things, even if they're painful, they become a comfort, even though you don't want them. So it was always confidence. And then through the Rio business, I got submerged into this culture of confidence. And there it was really about the body, like because dance is such a movement, is such a fundamental part of their culture. And then the carnival being the height and time for it, when it's happening all throughout the year, it was like, what's going on? And I've always been obsessed with women. Like, women are the greatest love of my life. And when I went there, I was like, oh my God, they're goddesses. They're literally the goddess, like how I would have imagined like people adorning like the Greek goddesses, you know, and I was just absolutely enamored by the whole thing. And then you meet them, and then we work with these, they're queens, right? They're called the queens of the drumming section. And you're meeting these women, and the energy and their presence and the way that they hold themselves, but there's such humility. It's not showing off. It's I'm going to empower you through my body and through my presence, and I'm going to give it to you. And so these women are conductors of energy, and they do it at a mass scale, 90,000 people. They're conducting the energy in front of 300 drummers behind them. And it was fascinating to me. So I was like looking for something. I was like thinking, well, what is it? Why do I do what I do? I've got this amazing business in Brazil. I would love to work with people. I love to like help them and enable change in them, so they become more of themselves and they come home to themselves. So what's this thread that brings it all together? So I was asking the universe, I was saying, give me the sign, and a few different things happened. But the main one was I was sat in a class in with one of our clients, a parade preparation class with one of these queens that we work with called Gilly. And she was talking about being on the Avenida, being at the Sambadrome, which is going down, parading. And she was saying, I can get any man to look at me. She wasn't being arrogant. She was talking about like the power of dance, really, and what really dance is about. It doesn't interest me. She said the thing that I'm interested in is the woman who's got her eyes on the ground and she won't look up. And if I can get the person next to her to touch her so she can look at me, then I can basically set her free. I can say, I've got you.
Wow, it's blown my mind and my heart open, I think, at the same time. I am that's it, isn't it? It's that when we see another woman and we can see where they're at, because we know it as women, we sense it, to then go after her and say, come with me. Like, it is the most profound and powerful thing that we can do for each other. So thanks for sharing that, because I really want everyone to listen to this and say, yeah, there are women out there that I see, and we can make such a difference to each other's lives. And we see this all the time in our work as well, self and Lucy. And, it brings you to your knees a little bit, but in the most beautiful way. Because when a woman succeeds and she gets rid of that self-doubt and steps back into who she already is and starts to just open herself up, it's the most beautiful thing in the world. So I'm really moved by that.
Yeah, I always get emotional telling the story because I was just like covered in goosebumps. And I was like, this has been my entire life, just really just seeing people, you know, and and then it just became this kind of then thing in my brain of and my heart and my soul of how do I bring this to life? And so complete confidence, which is what is it? It's a brand, it's a program, it's a movement. Um, and it's for women that are really ready to stop kind of performing and really remember who they are. And it combines lots of elements, lots of pieces of the puzzle from the work with the mind, which has obviously been such a huge part of my own journey from brain surgery and then spending 9 years working predominantly going through the brain and the subconscious. So I call that kind of being in the chrysalis, really, like as delayering and really working on the patterns and understanding our beliefs and what's holding us back and creating new, or actually just chipping away, because I think it's already there. You see, I believe you're born into the world with confidence, as you wouldn't decide to come to this life and have another go. So I think it is this sort of delayering, but there is this mind element, and then just really using the body as the main lever for feminine based confidence, right? And that comes from the emotional body, right? So us really accepting and loving our emotions and not suppressing them, allowing them to breathe and move, and using movement as the best way to flow and keep those emotions flowing, and dance being such a beautiful modality for, I think, especially for women.
And it's the release, isn't it? It's the point of release that allows things to break free from us that is so vitally important for women, because we hold so much in. We are the carriers, we're the birth givers. We also soak in people's energies, we're the harmonizers, that's the idea. All of that, but actually we're also human, and we have to find ways to release some of this stuff out the back end. Otherwise we're overburdened, we're overloaded, high anxiety, self-doubt extremely high. And we I think for me it's like that fear sometimes, like I can't actually cope with any more, like I'm full and my plate is full and I can't cope with any more, so don't give me any more. But what that is doing is closing down everything. It doesn't just close down the things I don't want, it closes down the things that I do want. And it's such a negative space to go into. And for sure for me, like when I get into my body knows how to release, my body knows what to do, it's instinctual. And if I just trust it and go into it, things will start leaving. And I mean, it can be all sorts of things will leave my body. Like I've done many things where I've almost like I could be a bear, I could be a tiger, where I've literally almost like felt like I was running into something, and as I was running, like something takes over, and it's like this pure sense of freedom for me. I can't describe it. I've done lots of different things like shaking medicine and anger dances, and it feels quite primitive and primal in a way, but it's the basic essence of a woman releasing all the crap that she doesn't need to hold anymore, and all the things that you don't even need to know what it is. You just need to allow things to leave and to just be like, done with that, go, off you go. So that's what's opening up in me. It's just this sense of like, yes please, and more.
Yeah, I have to say that because like when you do like those feedback sessions where you're like, what's the one word that you would use to describe Lucy? And time again, the word confidence comes up. And I look back on my life, and there's never been a day in my life that I haven't been confident. And so I am the worst coach to come to as a confidence coach, because I've never had to do the work. I've never, yeah, I see my children, they really struggle with confidence and anxiety and second guessing everything. And I can absolutely nurture them, but I'm really aware that um, my gifts are different. I can't teach somebody confidence because it's just something that is so innate in me. So I'm so thankful for people like you, Karen, and people like you, Helen, who have got this gift to be able to get people into that state, to like shake it off, to dance it out, because my kitchen is my dance it out place. It's just a ritual that me and my girls do all the time, and a song comes on and we're shaking it off and we're singing and stuff like that. It's just always been there. And so, but there have been moments when my confidence has waned, of course, and I like question everything. But I think I've got again those tools and techniques that I bring, it brings me through. And so it's one of the things that I see most with women and a lot with men, but it's just something even more pervasive with women, that they do question themselves, they do question everything. Like, my hair, my eyebrows, what lipstick should I wear? How should I show it today? Should I speak? Should I say something? Um, and it really makes me sad because, like you say, Helen, they're born with this beautiful light, this inner confidence, and just bit by bit it gets eroded. And I think it's one of the biggest tragedies that we do to our daughters, our granddaughters, our sisters, our colleagues. Um, yeah, that's my thought.
Yeah, no, and all of the stats back it up, with the research that's been out in the last few years with imposter syndrome, and it was a really, I totally concur with what you're saying. It's so sad. I think it was about nearly 70% of women in this study in the last couple of years said they'd never felt true confidence.
Wow.
So there's something there, and when you look at it from a biological perspective, the women are born into their bodies with less confidence than men, but then most of it is just really about the perception game that's very heavily influenced basically by what we see and what we experience and what we pick up on, and like you open the conversation, the digital age, which I was part of with mobile. We did the iPhone deal, the first deal with the iPhone to bring it into the UK market in 2007. Nobody had a clue what was going to happen, right? It was just like everybody wanted the device, but nobody really, well, somebody maybe knew, but the dangers of putting so much information in somebody's hand.
I think as well, I think girls are taught to go into their heads and use their brains. Boys are taught to be physical. And I feel like this happens very, 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 very early on. The physicality of boys, it's like, go off you go, be physical. And then, I see it with my daughter and her friends, and they're sort of there in their heads trying to work things out, so that they can do it through their brains. And I'm like, this is not like, come back into the body. I want her to be more in her body. She was in her body, but the school system, things are changing there. And I see it in her and I just think, oh my God, it starts so young. It really, really does. And so that's, for me, is a problem that we need to talk about and face, because the worst place we can be is spend too much time in our heads. What we need to do is learn to drop that down into our bodies and learn to listen to the wisdom that's inside our bodies. So, young children are learning it very, very early. And that's why it's so difficult for us, because we've been trained from a very early age to do that and to ignore our emotions and not to get emotional. So, then we get to midlife and we're like, if we are brave and wise enough to listen, because it does take courage to go, hold on, my body is telling me something, I'm going to listen. But often what we hear means let go of something, say yes to something. Oh, I'm scared. I don't know if I can do that. And all of that questioning starts to seep in. But we're older. So when we step in, and we step in with experts and guides, it just becomes easier because we're not alone in it. Whereas only children, we're alone in it in a way, unless we've got parents who have kind of seen what's going on and can hold space for that.
And
It's absolutely
one thing
vital.
wanted to add, when you talk about the children element, I work with children, right from the age of 4 up to 18. And I've just been on a couple of weekend camps with them. And most of the children, their anxieties, their confidence, and this is girls and boys, comes from what's been passed on by their mums, anxieties. And you hear them like, well, mum said da da da, or mum said don't do this and don't do that, because she's trying to keep them safe because that's her most precious thing. But then it gets passed on to the children. So don't climb that tree, don't go running around, don't lose your stuff. So they're constantly worrying, have I lost my spoon, have I lost my cup? And so I think the work that you do actually, Helen, not doesn't just heal today, it heals generations. And I think that is so important. But we are coming to the end, so I'm going to ask you what I suppose is your biggest message, or your biggest gift or wisdom that you could offer our listeners as a takeaway.
Oh, what a question. I think it's like to look, when I look back at my life and really all the things that have happened, I think it's to just have the courage to take that little next step. And when you do that, life opens up for you and things start to happen beyond what you would ever thought was possible. And when we get stuck in our head and we start to second guess and the doubt comes in, we become further we become further and further away from our true selves. And that really, for me, is the definition of anxiety. Though the biggest reason for anxiety is simply not being yourself. So just like a teaspoon of courage every day to just do the thing, or have the conversation, or stop and look after yourself. It just it keeps you connected to who you are, and that's happiness, that's fulfillment. There's purpose isn't something that you have to go round the world looking for. The greatest purpose in this life is just to be yourself, and you get there just by every day just having that love and that bit of courage, and confidence flows because it's always there anyway.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. How can people get hold of you and find you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Instagram. So it's just helenmaryparker.co on Instagram, or Helen Parker Coach, I think it is on LinkedIn. You'll find me.
We'll put the
And then
links on the
all of
show
my links
notes.
are on there for the website and Experience Carnival. I'm just about to start recruiting. So I'm going to be taking women to Brazil next year in 2026. My vision, my dream is to fill an entire float with women who are just celebrating themselves from the inside out and reclaiming how amazing they are and powerful they are in the great celebration on earth. So we're going to be recruiting for that. There's a program that leads up to it that works on your confidence for 6 months, or you can just come to Brazil and come on the biggest, most badass retreat of your life. Like, so yeah, I'd love to hear from anybody who's interested in what I'm doing, and your own stories and your own tales with confidence.
Oh, thank you. I hope to get on a float one day with you. I don't know what year it'll be, but
Oh, you're coming, definitely. And
we
you,
could put a
Lucy.
link. I can, be shaking our things up there with you. She would absolutely die for that. She's already asked if she can come, so I said, yeah, one day we'll make it.
Yeah, well, they have the mini version. So you from 8 years old, you can put them into the mini version, which is amazing.
Yay. Well, this is another conversation completed. I want to say, please check in on your sisters, check in on the most confident one in your group, because she may be the one that is suffering or dealing with some kind of confidence issues, and also checking on the quiet sisters as well. Hopefully this will inspire you to go out there, to get some support and to take that next step. Don't forget that you can follow us so that you never miss an episode. And thank you so much for being here today, Helen. It's been an absolute dream.
Thank you so much for having me.
So thanks for listening, and we can't wait to welcome you next time.
Until then, use your voice, journal, speak or sing out loud. However you do it, we hope you join us in
Saying It's Sister.